Cohort reporting is one of the most underutilized reports in GA4. While with the cohort reports, you can answer many questions like which source brought in repeat customers, which campaigns brought in repeat customers, and which promo codes create loyal customers that purchase many times and not just one time. I'll show you how you can build that in Google Analytics 4 so you can answer the questions that I have just mentioned. Also, make sure to watch it to the end as I'll be sharing free bonuses for you. To create the cohort reports in Google Analytics 4, all what you need to do is just navigate to Explore section, and then you can just click blank report. From here, you need to change this technique from freeform to cohort exploration. Once you do that, these dimension and matrices would be added in here, and this is basically anything that we can include or use within the report. If you're not sure or if you don't know what is this section of Google Analytics, I'll leave a link to a video where I have explained this in details. Now let's focus on creating the report itself. So here the first thing that you'd notice is the cohort inclusion, which basically means the term or the condition that we should be including the users based on. So for example, here it is selecting the first touch acquisition date, which means the first date that we acquired the user. When we click on it, we can see a couple of things from here, like any transaction, any event, any conversion. So what happens when we select any of this, it will include here, for example, any event that users have generated, but it is a little bit generic. So we can add specific event over here. So for example, let's select the purchase. And what this means in this scenario is that we are including people who have already placed the purchase on our website. The return criteria basically mean the next action that we want to see in our report. So for example, the cohort inclusion now says purchase. So that's the inclusion point or inclusion term. Now the return criteria, if we selected, for example, purchase, this means that we will include all the users who has placed on purchase, then came back and placed another purchase. I know it might sound a little bit confusing, but bear with me as it will be super clear in a few moments. Now the cohort granularity, it's basically shows the time frame that we want to be look at. This is different from the date range. So the date range here represents the time range that we want to look at. So for example, let's select it to be last 12 months, and the cohort granularity over here mentions like what is the time frame that we want to see for each cohort. So for us, let's select the weekly option and it will be clear in a second. Now the calculation itself, let's just pick standard for now. And this is the most important thing when working with cohort, which is the breakdown and values. So for breakdown, let's say we want to see the first user source. So if we double click on that, it will be added automatically to the breakdown section. Now for the matrices, let's add transactions and it will be also added to the values section over here automatically. Once we do that, we would see some sources over here, which is the breakdown. So anything that you add to the breakdown section would be used as the primary dimension over here. And any number that we see over here would be for transactions. So that's our report. Now let's take a step back and try to understand the previous option that we have just selected and how it's currently affecting the report. So let me scroll up a little bit and then let's go back to the first thing that we discussed, which is the purchase as cohort inclusion in this case. So what this means is the number that we are seeing here on the first column, which represents week 0, will be the first purchase that the users have made. So for example, on this date range on week 0, it was 106 purchases that had happened. Source was direct. And then on week 2 over here, these from the 106 users who have purchased through direct, 3 of them have purchased again on week number 2. And then on week number 3, 5 of the 106 users have purchased again, and so on for the other date range. And if you scroll down, what will be visible in here is that it would show us the next date range. So here it was from December 23 to December 28, 2024. here it shows us the new week. So on that new week, we have more data that is sounds a bit useful. And by the way, the reason why most of the data here lives under direct is because this is the GA4 public property and the data doesn't really make sense on that property. So yeah, for week 2, 17 users have purchased through Google as the source in this date range, but none of them have returned. And actually, let's now change cohort timing to be monthly since we are looking at a very long period. So when we change to monthly, the data will now look different as each part of the report will show us an entire month. So this was for December 2024, and this is for Jan, and here it's actually showing from the 23rd to the 31, as this is the limitation on how much time can the expiration go back to. So let's actually check this report. So we can see now more data and we can see more numbers. It's kind of now adding up. So Google here on this period had 128 users placing orders, and then 3 of them have placed other orders week 1. And then on week 2, two users from these have purchased again, and so on. So I think this kind of make more sense now since we have given an example. If you are still watching till this point, I would really appreciate it if you can subscribe to the channel, as 80% of the people who watches my videos are not really subscribed to the channel. Now let's touch base on some points we didn't cover earlier in the video. So calculation here is by default set to standard, and what standard will do is actually, as we explained, so it will include the user again in the report if that user have purchased or performed the action that is set in the cohort inclusion. If we use this option, it will basically accumulate the users who purchase again, and rolling has specific rules that you can find on the GA4 explanation pages or documentation pages. I'll leave the link to this in the description, but both are not really great to use. I have tried using them and the data doesn't really look good when I do that. It's not nice, so I just highly recommend using standard, but I'll leave the link to the document in the description. Feel free to check it out. Now for the rows per dimension, this basically shows how many rows do we want per each report. So for example, if we expanded this to 10 rows will be now added and seen in the report. Now let's answer the questions that we have asked initially in this video. So one of the question was, which sources is bringing repeat customers or users? So that's actually the report that we are looking at. The cohort inclusion is the people who have purchased, and then the returning criteria is people who have purchased again. So let's actually change this to use the sum option, as this is what I prefer, and then we will see all the sources. So for example, here Google is one of the sources, and this is the data of that source. Again, the data doesn't make sense here, but if you create these reports on your property, you should see better data that makes sense. Now, the second question was, which campaigns brought in repeat buyer? So what we can do to answer this question is actually removing the first user source from the breakdown and then adding the first user campaign. So just click on it, double click on it, and it will be added to the report. Here we go. So we have the campaign name. Again, the data doesn't just make sense over here as this is a dummy property, but you should be able to see all of the Google Ads campaign over here. Again, it's the first purchase that the user have made, how many purchases users have made on week 0, or we're including them inside this cohort, and then the coming sales after that. So for example, here for direct, it had 133 transactions on week 0 in this date range in December 2024. And then week after that, it got 20 sales, so 20 users out of these 133 users have purchased again. And lastly, which promo codes got loyal customers and which promo codes got one-time off customers. So what we can do is from the dimension menu over here, click plus, go to e-commerce, and then order coupon, hit confirm. Then let's remove the first user campaign and add this to the report. And we can see this interface now. For this property, it doesn't have real promo codes or any promo code usage at all, or actually they might not have the promo code tracking enabled. So Ideally, you should be able to see the promo code names over here. So let's say we have promo code named welcome 10 that gives new users 10% on their first order. So it would be visible here along the other promo codes. And on week 0, it will show the total purchasers that are included in this property. And then later on, it will show you how many purchases, like the second purchase that were done from these users. This can show you the promotions that create the loyal customers versus the promotions that user just use the promo code and ditch your brand. If you're not confident about your analytics and tracking knowledge, especially when someone asks you to create a specific report using Google Analytics 4, or even testing your Facebook tracking, or creating a custom event for Google Analytics 4 or a custom dimension or metric, I highly recommend taking my analytics confidence blueprint, where I teach you how to use Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, Shopify tracking, consent setup, server-side tracking, and you get direct access to me. You get 1 hour weekly with me. Plus to that, you get access to my web analytics community, where you can just post about any tracking issue or anything regarding marketing analytics, and I'll personally jump in and help. Join over than 50 marketers, analysts, and business owners trying to making sense of their analytics again. If this sounds good, I'll leave the link to my web analytics community in the description. Feel free to check it out or reach out to me if you have any questions. If you're watching this till now, thank you so much for this, and here is your bonus. I'll leave a link to a form in the description and comment section where you can just submit your email address, and I will personally add you to a Google Analytics 4 property where I have built out these reports that we have just discussed, and you can just copy these to your properties. So let me show you quickly how you can do this once you sign up and get access. So I'll be sharing this report now with everyone, and once you'll get access to this training property, go to the explore section, and then you will find only one report, which is this cohort inclusion. So all what you need to do is just click on more action over here and select copy across properties and select your GA4 property. So this report can be duplicated in your property without any effort. Once you copy this property, you'll find a tab for source, a tab for campaign, and another tab for promotions or promo code. Just note for the first 2 tabs, or actually the 3 tabs, for the cohort inclusion, you might change this to purchase, lead, or any other key event that you want. Just use any transaction by default. And again, if you're still watching to this point, thank you so much for completing the full thing. I hope you find it helpful. If you did find it helpful, like the video and also share it with a colleague that might find it helpful. If this is the first time you see me, my name is Ahmed, and I do post content here on YouTube quite often. So if you have any ideas, questions, or any topics that you want me to cover in the next weeks, please drop them in the comment section, as I make sure to go through each and every comment. And yeah, thank you so much, and see you on the next video.